So this is the beginning of Kylo Neopixel build. I've got my saber dismantled. Never mind all this cutting. I'm hoping that's going to be alright. I really wished now that I hadn't cut all that as much as I did, but the bottom line is I'll have to make it work. Yeah, so my BS version 1 is gutted, and it's ready for me to begin cutting the new chassis system that's going to go in it, which is my 26650 chassis. This is getting Neopixels. It's going to be a completely new lightsaber. It's kind of sad. This was my EL saber, and the EL wire is dead. So that day is kind of sad, but it's got to evolve. It's time for it to evolve. And my old switches here, I'm getting rid of them, and I'm probably going to put the traditional switches in here. I'm going to leave the accent LEDs in here because I haven't given up on that with Teensy, but the programming for that's a little bit more complicated, so I'm probably going to leave my accent LEDs in there and just shorten the wires. And of course I'll only need one recharge port, so I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with this second recharge port. I may do some plastic welding there and some repainting to get rid of one of those recharge ports. I'm probably going to get rid of this forward one, so I'm only going to have the one recharge port here. Now Mike, your saber, the recharge port is going to be in here. I'm going to put your recharge port in here, just so that you know where it's going to be. So it's going to be very hidden inside the pommel. I'm not going to put yours there where it's obvious, like mine, but I've already got recharge ports there, so that's where mine are going. But the bottom line is the Kylo Neopixel build has begun, and step 1 was gutting my Black Series, which I did in all of 5 minutes there. So a sad day, but a happy day as well, because this thing's getting ready to get a new life. And to be honest with you, this saber, because my 26650 saber was so much better than this one basically sat on a shelf. So the fact that this one's getting Neopixels, now my 26650 in-hilt's probably going to sit on the shelf, because this one's going to get, to go to all the troops. But the bottom line is, the nightmare has begun. And one last thing, this is for Mike Perez. Saber's all in pieces. It's very sad. I know you said that the screws here stripped and you thought they were hex head, but they're not. They're actually flathead screws. But just to let you know, when I redo this saber, what I'm going to do to get that wiggle out is, on mine, I'm going to replace, number one, I'm going to grind this nub down, so that's not going to be there. And then I'm going to retap this for 1032, and then what you're going to have is this is going to sit out beside the hilt, but it's going to be where this nub is at. These are 1032 hex head screws, and they're actually going to go down through the hole that's there and into the bottom half of your hilt. So that's what, when you put your bottom half of your hilt into the head, these screws will actually be the retention for the bottom half of your hilt in my redesign. So I'm just letting you know that this is going bye-bye on your saber, and it's going to be replaced with this, which, the profile, the size profile is a little bit different, but it's not, to me, it's not going to be overly critical. I mean, it's still going to look the same, and I can paint these to match the hilt somewhat. I'll do my best to paint them so they match this area here, but I'm going to be grinding this nub down, retapping all this, including into your hilt, and the holes that I'm going to be retapping is this hole and this hole here, and it'll be for this much bigger thread to go in there, and then that should get rid of that wiggle that you're experiencing in your saber head. It got rid of the wiggle in my other saber, but I just wanted to let you know ahead of time that I am going to be modifying portions of your hilt to work with this new with the 26650 chassis system. And I have the battery holders, and the funny thing is, I want you to see, this is the 26650 battery holder, and I'm going to be grinding away all this plastic and everything. and this will actually sit in the new chassis system and be secured in there, probably with epoxy. Now look, I don't have a metal shop, so I'm using butchery metalwork to make this happen. But I have gotten much better even since my first chassis install, and I think the chassis that I have to go in here are really awesome. The chassis system is going to be cool, and I'm going to try and actually seat this battery holder a little further into the saber head this time on this chassis system. So you're going to have to put the positive end of the battery into the chassis system. I'm going to measure and see what I need to get that to work out, because if I can do that, that gives me much more room in the back of the hilt. Because I mean, if you look here, that's how much room I have to play with to get the board in. I'm hoping you can see that in the video. If you put the battery holder here, in the chassis where it's right at the end of the saber head, you can see, because this is the end of the saber here, so that's how much room you have left for the board. If I can even gain an inch or two, then that gives us all this room for the board and to have secure chassis going around. And the board will actually be on its own system inside this chassis system and all wrapped in T8, but you'll still be able to lift the board and access your SD card and your plug, so you can interface the Teensy with the computer, so you can modify the settings. Have I invented all that yet? No, but I have a vision in my head of how I want to do it, because I know how I did it on my other saber. So I'm going to do something similar that'll still give us access to the SD and to the micro USB port, so we can plug the Teensy into the computer. But the engineering is underway, and I'm going to go ahead and cut. The beginning chassis for my saber, and then once I get the basic chassis plan done, and I make sure that the battery is going to work in this, with the battery going into the head of the saber a little bit. So as long as we can get the battery in there and then seat it in the chassis, and I know I can move that battery a little bit further forward. I know that from my last one. If I can move that battery a little bit forward and get that to work out, then the rest is elementary, and we're in business, definitely. But once I cut my first chassis for this saber, what I'll do is emulate it. So I'm going to be cutting, I'm actually going to make 3. I'm going to make one for my saber, one for your saber, and one is a pattern that I'll keep for the future. That way I can recreate the same chassis over and over again for use if anybody contracts me to do one of these Teensy sabers, which is going to be expensive, by the way. This ain't going to be cheap. This is a lot of work. Just the engineering behind this chassis and the programming on the Teensy. I mean, if somebody wants to, to commission me to build one of these sabers, it's going to cost some money. These sabers are going on the internet for $1,300 to $1,500. If you send me a Black Series hilt, I'm imagining, you're looking at a minimum to do this, probably around, and I'm guessing, probably around $1,100, which is a lot more expensive than in-hilt LEDs, but the Neopixels are a lot more work and a lot more expensive. My time isn't free, and the parts are expensive. So the bottom line is doing a hilt like this is going to cost people some money. There's definitely a lot of time and engineering and effort that goes into this, and my time is money. I'm not doing this for free. I'm not doing this for charity. Once I get these sabers up and running, I've got to survive too. But the bottom line is Mike Perez, our sabers are engineering underway. The board's working inside. I'm hoping to put a video of the Teensy up tonight working, doing all its stuff. But may the force be with you.